These principles are widely treated as ancient Hermetic wisdom. Sometimes I see people give the Kybalion extra credibility because of its source, but what we know is that it's most likely been written by William Walker Atkinson. The source, at minimum, raises serious questions, and serious questions deserve honest investigation. The man standing before the fire is old in a way that the word old fails to capture. He has descended into this chamber 1,000 times. He has walked the corridor between life and death so many times that the corridor knows his footsteps. His name is Thoth. Some call him Thoth, some Thoth. He was born in the city of Kior on the island of Undal, in the heart of the civilization the world would later call Atlantis, and he has been alive for 36,000 years. His father was Thothme, keeper of the great temple, mouthpiece of the Dweller, the being who lives in the space between dimensions, who guards the threshold where the mortal world touches the infinite. Few among the children of men had looked upon the Dweller's face and survived the seeing. Thoth was brought before the Dweller as a young man, and instead of dying, he was chosen. He was taught the path to Amenti, the underworld, the halls beneath the surface of the earth where the lords of life and the lords of death sit in judgment across the ages. He receives the key of life. He was freed from the circle of death. He journeyed to the stars until space and time became as nothing, and then he came back because the people of Atlantis were forgetting. He could feel it in the frequency of the flame. The geometric patterns were destabilizing. The flower of life, which had burned with perfect symmetry since before the island rose from the ocean floor, was losing its coherence. The thoughts of the Atlanteans were turning downward, toward greed, toward power, toward the manipulation of forces they had once used with reverence. The balance was shifting. The consciousness that had sustained the civilization for millennia was darkening. And Thoth could see the darkness spreading the way a physician can see a disease moving through a body long before the body knows it's sick. But the streets are quieter than they should be. The people move with the tension that was absent a generation ago. There are arguments in the council chambers. There are factions forming around ideologies that would have been unthinkable a century earlier. The children of light, the beings who had descended from beyond the stars and taken human form to guide the Atlantean race, are withdrawing. Their presence in the temples is diminishing. The elders speak in whispers about a correction. The word makes the blood cold. And beneath the city, in his chamber of detachment, the Dweller stirs. The Dweller rises from his aguanti, a state of consciousness that has no equivalent in any modern language, and he speaks the word. The word is a vibration. The vibration reaches the flower of life in the deep chambers beneath the temple. The flower changes its direction, and the moment the flower turns, the ocean begins to rise. Thoth is in the temple. The water is climbing the steps. The Dweller speaks to him one final time. Gather ye together, my people. Take them by the arts ye have learned afar across the waters until ye reach the children of Chem. Thoth gathers the survivors. He boards the great ship of the Master, a vessel that rises into the air and moves across the ocean towards the dawn. Below them, the island of Undal is disappearing. The Temple of Light, the last structure standing, slips beneath the surface of the water. 36,000 years of civilization gone, swallowed by an ocean that will keep the secret for another 12,000 years. They fly toward the sun of the morning. Beneath them, a new continent appears, the place called Chem, Egypt. The inhabitants are primitive, barbarous races dwelling in caves, armed with cudgels and spears. When they see Thoth's ship descend from the sky, they attack. Thoth raises his staff and directs a ray of vibration that freezes them in place like fragments of stone. He speaks to them in words calm and peaceful. He tells them he is a child of the sun. He tells them he has come to build. And he builds on the plateau above the Nile using the knowledge of a dead civilization. He constructs the Great Pyramid of Giza, the structure that would confuse and astonish humanity for the next 12,000 years. He builds it over the entrance to the halls of Amenti. He places inside it the records of everything Atlantis knew. He encodes the secrets of creation into the tablets of emerald green. 12 tablets formed from substance created through alchemical transmutation, imperishable, resistant to all elements and substances. Their atomic structure fixed so that no change could ever occur. Upon them, he engraves characters in the ancient Atlantean language, characters that respond to attuned thought waves, releasing their meaning directly into the mind of the reader. And then he rules for 16,000 years, teaching, writing, teaching mathematics, teaching architecture and medicine, and the hidden arts of consciousness. And when the time comes to descend again into the halls of Amenti, he leaves behind his tablets, his records, his promise that in a time yet unborn, he will rise again, mighty and potent, requiring an accounting of those left behind. That is the world described in the Emerald Tablets of Thoth, the Atlantean. One of the most widely read esoteric texts of the last century and one of the most requested topics in the history of my channel. The text consists of 15 tablets written in rhythmic, incantatory verse. Beneath the story of Atlantis and Egypt, the tablets describe a deeper cosmology. The halls of Amenti extend beneath the earth in dimensions adjacent to the physical world, vast spaces where the seven lords sit in eternal judgment, beings who are formed yet formless, who came from the future of infinity's end. Beyond the halls in the darkness dwell the children of the shadows, serpent-headed beings who emerged from spaces between dimensions and who have been manipulating humanity since the fall of Atlantis. The tablets describe techniques for bending space and time, for projecting consciousness beyond the body, for conquering death through the mastery of the life force. They describe the Merkaba, the light body that enables dimensional travel. They describe the flower of life, the geometric pattern underlying all creation. They describe a cosmos at war between the forces of awakening and the forces that profit from humanity's sleep. Every major theme in the modern consciousness movement, sacred geometry, ascension, dimensional shifting, the hidden war between liberation and control, the lizard people, appears in these 15 tablets. The writing is genuinely compelling. The language operates on the nervous system the way a drum pattern does, rhythmic, incantatory, inducing altered states through repetition and cadence. List ye, O man, to the depth of my wisdom, speak I of knowledge hidden from man. Far have I been on my journey through space-time, even to the end of the space of this cycle. Many people report feeling genuinely changed after reading the tablets. Many report experiences that feel like contact with something ancient, something vast. The tablets also contain practical instructions. Tablet 9 describes the key of freedom of space, techniques for moving consciousness beyond the physical body and into dimensions that exist alongside the material world. Tablet 10 describes the key of time, the ability to perceive past and future as simultaneous rather than sequential. Tablet 13 describes the keys of life and death, the methods by which Thoth claims to have conquered mortality itself. And the supplementary Tablet 15, the secret of secrets, describes the ultimate nature of reality as a unity of light and darkness, with darkness understood as disorder and light as order, and the purpose of human existence defined as the transmutation of darkness into light. There are substantive teachings, the parallel ideas found across multiple esoteric traditions. The Tibetan Bardo teachings, the Kabbalistic tree of life, the Hermetic principle of correspondence. Whether the source is genuine or constructed, the ideas themselves resonate with frameworks that have been independently verified through centuries of practice. This is part of what makes the tablets so difficult to dismiss outright. The wisdom they contain echoes wisdom found in traditions whose authenticity is beyond question. So I've avoided investigating these tablets for 8 years. I've read them. I've felt their pull. I've become obsessed with them. I wanted them to be true. I wanted the halls of Amenti to be real. I wanted the flower of life to be burning somewhere beneath the Giza plateau. Wanted Thoth to be watching. The writing is that good. The world is that compelling, and I could never fully decide whether to accept or question the source. So I finally investigated, and the first thing I discovered is that there are 2 emerald tablets, and they are entirely different documents. Long before the emerald tablets of Thoth, the Atlantean, existed, there was the emerald tablet, singular. 1 page, 1 text, and it may be the single most influential esoteric document in Western history. The earliest known version appears in the Kitab Sir al-Khalika, the Book of the Secret of Creation, an Arabic text tentatively dated to the 8th or 9th century. The frame story describes a man named Balinus, later identified as Apollonius of Tyana, a 1st century mystic entering a hidden chamber beneath a statue of Hermes. Inside, on a golden throne, sits a figure holding a tablet of emerald inscribed with text. Balinus copies the inscription. He carries it into the light. A second early version appears in a text attributed to Jabir ibn Hayyan, the legendary 8th century Arab alchemist known in Europe as Geber, one of the founders of experimental chemistry. These texts emerged from the Islamic Golden Age, one of the most intellectually explosive periods of human history, when Arabic-speaking scholars preserved and expanded the entire body of Greek philosophical knowledge that Europe had lost. The genuine tablet is 1 page long, dense, compressed, operating on multiple levels simultaneously. Its most famous line has echoed through 12 centuries. That which is above is from that which is below, and that which is below is from that which is above, working the miracles of one. As above, so below. 7 words that became the foundation of Western alchemy and the cornerstone of Hermetic philosophy. Isaac Newton translated this text in his own hand. His papers examined after his death revealed he spent more of his intellectual life on alchemy and the Hermetic tradition than on the physics the world celebrates him for. The economist John Maynard Keynes called Newton the last of the magicians. In 1460, when a manuscript of the related Corpus Hermeticum reached Cosimo de' Medici in Florence, Cosimo ordered his translator to stop translating Plato and translate the Hermetics first. The most powerful man in Renaissance Italy considered this tradition more urgent than the foundational philosopher of Western civilization. The text describes a process of transformation. Something ascends from the earth to heaven and becomes ruler over that which is above and that which is below. Its father is the sun. Its mother is the moon. The earth carried it in her belly. This describes the alchemical great work, the transmutation of base matter into gold, but simultaneously describes the transmutation of ordinary consciousness into divine awareness. The physical and the spiritual are one operation described in 2 registers. The text refuses to separate them. That refusal is the point, and notice the compression. The genuine emerald tablet delivers its entire teaching in roughly 200 words. 1 page. Compare this to the 15 chapters of Doreal's tablets. Genuine esoteric wisdom tends toward compression. The deeper the truth, the fewer words it requires. The Bible expresses the nature of God in 3 words, I am that. The emerald tablet expresses the law of correspondence in 7. The brevity is the signature of the depth. The genuine emerald tablet has almost nothing in common with the emerald tablets of Thoth, the Atlantean. They share a name and a color green. Everything else, the origin, the content, the verifiability, the historical impact is different, and they have been so thoroughly conflated that most people believe they are the same tradition. They are entirely separate, which raises the question, where did the Atlantean version actually come from? The Atlantean tablets of Thoth, the Atlantean, were published by a man named Maurice Doreal, born Claude D. Doggins on September 25, 1902 in Oklahoma. Doreal founded the Brotherhood of the White Temple in Denver, Colorado around 1930. Having been deeply involved in theosophy, he styled himself Dr. Doreal through credentials conferred by his own organization and signed his prefaces as Doreal, Supreme Voice of the Brotherhood. Doreal claimed that during a 1925 visit to the Great Pyramid of Giza, he discovered the tablets and was authorized by the Great White Lodge to translate them from an ancient Atlantean language. He later changed the location to a pyramid in the jungles of South America. The Brotherhood's own website tells yet another version, stating that he endured many hardships on his jungle journey to retrieve them. The shifting account is worth noting. A genuine historical discovery tends to have stable provenance. There are 0 photographs of the physical tablets. zero archaeological record, zero analysis by any Egyptologist or linguist. The Atlantean language has never been identified by any independent authority. The Brotherhood explicitly states that absolutely no one but Dr. Doreal has given permission to translate the tablets. Doreal was remarkably prolific. Between the late 1920s and his death in 1963, he published dozens of works through the Brotherhood: Spiritual Power and Magnetic Healing, The Pineal Eye, Astrochemical Analysis, Material in Harmony and How to Overcome It, Tibet and Its Religions, Personal Magnetism, The Occult Anatomy of Man, The Authentic Saint Germain, Secret Teachings of Jesus, Polar Paradise, The 10 Lost Tribes of Israel, and Instructions of a Master to his Chela, among others. He also published his works on the Great Seal of the United States as Prophecy and Symbolism. Every text was published through his own Brotherhood, with his own organization as the sole authenticating authority. In 1931, Doreal claimed to have met two Atlanteans in Los Angeles who took him to a cave beneath Mount Shasta. He developed an elaborate cosmology of underground races and inner-earth civilizations. In the 1950s, convinced nuclear war was imminent, he moved his entire community to a remote compound in Sedalia, Colorado, to await the apocalypse. The community stockpiled supplies and prepared. The apocalypse never arrived. The literary environment of the late 20s and early 30s is also relevant. H.P. Lovecraft's The Dunwich Horror appeared in 1928. Frank Belknap Long's The Hounds of Tindalos appeared in 1929. Both feature ancient pre-human civilizations, dimensional portals, serpentine beings, and cosmic horror, elements that appear throughout Doreal's tablets. Blavatsky's theosophical root race theories, including Atlantis as a previous stage of human evolution, were the dominant framework in the occult circles Doreal inhabited. Scholarly analysis has noted the tablets were influenced by ancient Egyptian texts and Lovecraftian stories about part pre-reptilian civilizations. Is it possible that Doreal genuinely retrieved ancient wisdom through some means he chose to obscure behind the story of physical discovery? It's possible. People have received genuine transmissions through channeling, through visionary experiences, through states of consciousness that defy conventional explanation. But the shifting provenance, the literary parallels, the self-authenticating authority structure, and the absence of any independent verifications make it very difficult to accept the tablets at face value as 36,000-year-old Atlantean records. The source, at minimum, raises serious questions, and serious questions deserve honest investigation. I also want to note that the Emerald Tablets are often discussed alongside the Kybalion and its 7 Hermetic principles: mentalism, correspondence, vibration, polarity, rhythm, cause, effect, and gender. These principles are widely treated as ancient Hermetic wisdom, but the Kybalion itself was published in the 1908 Three Initiates. Most likely, William Walker Atkinson was the writer, an American New Thought writer. It is a modern synthesis, readable and useful, but distinct from the genuine ancient Hermetic texts. Sometimes I see people give the Kybalion extra credibility because of its source, but what we know is that it's most likely been written by William Walker Atkinson. The Corpus Hermeticum is mystical and devotional, focused on the soul's return to God through direct spiritual experience. The Kybalion emphasizes the law of attraction and mental causation. Both have value. But knowing which one you are reading and when it was written is part of the discernment this investigation is asking you to practice. Then I want to talk about Drunvalo Melchizedek specifically because his relationship to the Emerald Tablets of the Atlantean matters. Drunvalo, born Bernard Perona, is the founder of the Flower of Life facilitators in the School of Remembering. His work in sacred geometry, the Flower of Life pattern, the Seed of Life, the geometric foundation of consciousness, is genuinely fascinating and has contributed real value to the field. I have taught his Merkaba meditation technique on this channel. I respect his contributions deeply. In fact, we recently discussed his extraordinary story of being a walk-in, a soul that entered a body already occupied by another consciousness with the original soul's agreement. That story, whatever you make of it, is one of the most remarkable personal accounts in the consciousness community. In the acknowledgments of the Ancient Secret of the Flower of Life, Volume 1, Drunvalo writes, "Thoth, the ascended master from Atlantis, Egypt, and Greece, has given me a great deal of information in this book." His Gaia TV series devotes an entire episode to the Emerald Tablets and Thoth's story, For his global audience of hundreds of thousands of students, the tablets are genuine Atlantean wisdom transmitted by a living ascended master. What I want to note carefully is that the details of Drunvalo's account of his contact with Thoth have shifted over time. The specific claims about how and when the contact occurred have changed across different tellings. It's a pattern worth acknowledging honestly, because it appears that many accounts of spiritual contact, and it raises questions about the relationship between the experience itself and the narrative constructed around it. It's entirely plausible that Drunvalo experienced genuine contact with a consciousness he identifies as Thoth. It's possible that the information he received through that contact is valuable regardless of authenticity of Doreal's tablets. It's possible that tablets, whatever the origin, served as a vessel through which genuine wisdom reached people who needed it. And it's also possible that tablets are a 20th century composition that gained credibility through association with a trusted teacher, and that they may be something other than what they claim to be. I present the evidence. I trust this community to weigh it. I want to be clear that questioning the provenance of a text is a different act from dismissing a teacher. Drunvalo's contributions to sacred geometry and to the broader consciousness movement stand on their own merit. What is beyond question is that the figure of Thoth, the real Thoth or Thoth or Thoth, however you want to pronounce it, the Egyptian deity, is one of the most fascinating and important beings in the history of human thought, and the tradition that bears his name is one of the deepest wells of wisdom available to anyone seeking to understand consciousness. In Egyptian theology, Thoth was the god of wisdom, writing, magic, and the moon. The Egyptians revered him for over 3,000 years. He appeared in the pyramid texts, the oldest religious writings in human history. He appears in the Book of the Dead. He is present at the weighing of the heart against the feather of Ma'at. His temples were centers of learning. His priests were scribes and scholars. During the Ptolemaic period, when Greek and Egyptian cultures fused in Alexandria, Thoth was syncretized with the Greek god Hermes, producing Hermes Trismegistus, thrice great Hermes. In Islamic tradition, this same figure appears as Idris, a prophet honored in the Quran. The genuine Thoth-Hermes tradition spans Egyptian, Greek, and Islamic civilization simultaneously, rooted in actual historical cultures, preserved in actual manuscripts, studied by actual scholars across centuries. The Corpus Hermeticum, 17 treatises composed between the 1st and 2nd century CE in Greco-Roman Egypt, emerged from Alexandria, where the library held over 400,000 scrolls, and Greek, Egyptian, Jewish, Persian, and Indian thought cross-pollinated in ways that had never happened before. The most famous treatise, the Pomandres, describes the universe emanating from a single divine mind, the human being containing a divine spark that has descended into matter and forgotten its origin, and the path of awakening as the path of remembering what you are. This is the same framework I teach. The I am within you is the creative power. You are God in human form. You've forgotten your origin. The Hermeticists said it was 15 centuries before Neville. This tradition influenced Giordano Bruno, who was burned at the stake for it. It influenced Newton, who devoted more of his life to it than physics. Newton's alchemical manuscripts number over 1 million words, dwarfing his scientific output. When his private papers were auctioned in 1936, the economist John Maynard Keynes purchased a large collection and was stunned to discover that the man the world had canonized as the supreme rationalist was in his private intellectual life a devoted mystic and practicing alchemist. Keynes wrote that Newton was the last of the magicians. He translated the Emerald Tablet in his own handwriting, preserved to this day at Cambridge. The Hermetic revival launched by Ficino's 1463 translation shaped the Renaissance, the birth of modern chemistry through Paracelsus and Robert Boyle, and the esoteric movements that gave us the Golden Dawn, the Rosicrucians, and the Kabbalistic currents that ran through Abdullah's teaching and into Neville's work. The fingerprints of Hermes Trismegistus are on the foundations of the modern world. This tradition is verifiable, translatable, historically anchored across 12 centuries of documented transmission, and available to anyone who wants to study it, in the Corpus Hermeticum, in the Emerald Tablets of Hermes Trismegistus, in the translations and the scholarly commentary that have accumulated over 5 centuries of academic study. You need zero intermediary, zero supreme voice of any brotherhood, zero unverifiable claim to access it. The tradition is open. I avoided this topic for 8 years. 8 years of producing content on this channel daily, knowing the Emerald Tablets were there, one of the most requested subjects in the community. I knew I'd get a lot of clicks, and I kept putting it off because I was enraptured by them. I wanted them to be genuine so bad. The writing is extraordinary. The sci-fi junkie in me loves them. Some of the most compelling esoteric prose I've ever encountered. The world they describe is vivid and internally consistent in ways that most spiritual texts are unable to match, and I simply could never decide. So I did what I always do when I'm unable to decide. I investigated, and the investigation revealed a picture that is complicated, uncomfortable, and ultimately necessary. The author of the tablets, Maurice Doreal, was a man whose other claims, meeting Atlanteans beneath Mount Shasta, prophesying nuclear apocalypse, retreating to a mountain compound in Colorado, raised significant questions about credibility. The provenance of the tablet shifts between tellings. The literary influences of the era are traceable throughout the text. The authenticating authority is self-referential. The Atlantean language has never been independently verified. These are facts, and they are worth knowing. At the same time, the tablets contain passages of genuine beauty and insight that feel authentic and right to me. The description of consciousness as light totally vibes with Walter Russell. The teaching about the war between awakening and sleep, it's right there in the Law of One. The instructions for projecting awareness beyond the physical body, these teachings have value regardless of their origins. Many people have genuinely transformed by reading them. They found great joy from them. That transformation is real, even if the provenance is uncertain. And this is the complexity I want to sit with rather than resolve too quickly, because the history of esoteric teaching is filled with examples of genuine wisdom arriving through questionable vessels. The Kabbalion, which I mentioned earlier, contains useful principles despite being a 1908 New Thought product rather than ancient Hermetic scriptures. Many channeled texts contain insights that practitioners find valuable even when the claimed source is unverifiable. The question of whether a teaching is true and whether the story of its origin is true are separate questions, and conflating them causes us to either accept everything uncritically or reject everything prematurely. What I'm asking for is discernment rather than dismissal. The tablets may contain genuine wisdom that Doreal accessed through means he chose to present as archaeological discovery rather than channeling or visionary experience or something else. The wisdom may be real even if the framing is constructed, but the framing matters because it shapes how we relate to the material. Believing you are reading the 36,000-year-old Atlantean records creates a different relationship with the text than knowing you are reading a 1930s composition written by a sci-fi author that may contain channeled insights. The second relationship is more honest. Honesty is the foundation of spiritual practice, but I believe the community deserves the full picture. You deserve to know that the text most people call the Emerald Tablets was published in the 30s or 40s by a theosophist from Oklahoma with a self-conferred doctorate. You deserve to know that a separate, genuinely ancient Emerald Tablet exists, one page of compressed wisdom that founded Western alchemy, was translated by Isaac Newton, and contains the principle that as above, so below. You deserve to know that the genuine Hermetic tradition is deeper, older, more rigorously preserved, and more profoundly connected to the actual history of human thought than anything that emerged from the Brotherhood of the White Temple. I'm presenting this evidence and letting you decide. I trust this community, these seekers. My own sense is this: the Emerald Tablets of Thoth may contain wisdom, but they are almost certainly something other than what they claim to be. And the genuine Hermetic tradition, the one that runs from the Arabic alchemists through the Renaissance and into the consciousness teachings on this channel, is available, accessible, and I believe there are more pages that we have never found. The real ones are waiting. And they've been waiting for 12 centuries. Because I also teach there is no fiction. And if this has been written, this comes from somewhere, and it's real in some universe. Somewhere in the ancient world, a man walked into a chamber beneath the earth and found the secret of the universe written on a green stone. The words he carried out of that chamber traveled across 12 centuries, across Arabic, Latin, English, and a dozen other languages. They were studied by the greatest alchemists of the Islamist Golden Age. They were so important to to the most powerful patron of the Renaissance that he dropped Plato to read them first. And somewhere in Oklahoma in 1902, a man named Claude Doggins was born. He would grow up to write 15 tablets of his own, attribute them to an Atlantean king, and produce a text so vivid and compelling that millions of people would read it, feel genuinely transformed by it, and believe they were reading the oldest wisdom on earth. Both of those stories are true. What you do with them is yours to decide. I will tell you what I've decided for myself. I'm grateful the Emerald Tablets of Thoth, the Atlantean, exist. They've given me pleasure and joy. They introduce millions of people to ideas, sacred geometry, awakening, and sleep that they might never have encountered otherwise. The tablets were, for many people, the doorway. A doorway can be valuable regardless of its age. A doorway can open into something real regardless of its origin. It just has to be a doorway, and for many seekers, that is exactly what these tablets were. But the room the doorway opens into, the genuine Hermetic tradition, the Corpus Hermeticum, the principle inscribed on the emerald stone in the hidden chamber somewhere in the ancient world, the room is deeper, older, and more powerful than the doorway that brought you to it. As above, so below. As within, so without. Principle is real, ancient, verified, and it is the foundation of everything I teach on this channel. Whether it reach you through Doreal's tablets, or through genuine Hermetic tradition, or through Neville Goddard, or through the quiet voice of your own deepening awareness, the principle is the same. Your consciousness and your reality are one system. What you become, the world becomes. That is the Emerald Tablet, and it has been inside you the entire time. Before you go, I want to invite you to our upcoming event in Anaheim, California on July 24th through the 26th, right next to Disneyland. We are going to experience the most profound timeline shift that we've ever done. This is the future self technique that I've been working on in my events. It's so profound. I hope you can join me, and we're going to have Doreal as our special guest. You can find the link for the tickets in the description below at www.brianscottlive.com/Anaheim. I'm sending all my love, all my light to everyone. You can find all episodes of The Reality Revolution at therealityrevolution.com. And welcome to The Reality Revolution. There's a version of your life where everything you've been reaching for arrives, where the money flows, where love opens, where your body heals, where every step carries the frequency of the self you were always meant to be. That life exists, and the path to it has been 8 years in the making. This July, The Reality Revolution comes home to Anaheim. 3 full days of teaching, meditation, and timeline activation. 9 complete sessions designed to move you from the life you're living to the life that is waiting. Activate your pineal gland, meet your higher self, quantum jump into your greatest timeline, enter the bliss body healing state, step into the flow of large sums of money, open fully to love, shift into a higher density new earth. Friday night, the community celebrates together. Saturday evening, a special appearance from Doreal. And by Sunday evening, you walk out as the version of yourself your future self has been waiting for.
I knew I had to be in the room because it's different from like listening to the meditation videos online.
It was really getting into yourself and how you feel and your timelines.
It's time at the event, and it really is. It's wonderful. So I would highly recommend to anyone, if you get the opportunity to do it, absolutely do it. It really is amazing.
The Reality Revolution live in Anaheim, July 24th, 25th, and 26th at the Hilton Anaheim. 3 days that will change the trajectory of your life. Early bird pricing is available now. Claim your seat at www.brianscottlive.com/Anaheim.